If you've ever wondered what it feels like to have a nomadic spirit, wonder no more. In today's episode of The Incredible Everyday Woman, we have Morayo Ahunanya, a 28-year-old Nigerian who lets us into what it feels like to walk and live in freedom as she explores different phases of her life.
I was naive, and then had to learn things the hard way.
She's an architect, she's a photographer, and she's a YouTuber. She also talks to us about how she found unexpected adventures in the city of Kano, the tales of being a new mother.
Before you could hit water, they had to go down deep inside. Like, where would I get this money from? I grew up in Surulere, in Body Thomas, with my father, an architect, and a Muslim man, married to my mom, a civil servant and a Christian woman. And they had 4 children together, and I was the third. Growing up in an atmosphere where the foundation, the spiritual beliefs were different. So we celebrated all the holidays, all the festivals, the Muslim festivals, the Christian festivals. Growing up was fun. Growing up was intellectual as well. My father used to buy lots of books for us. He loved books. We had a massive library in our house. So we had a variety of people and variety of cultures, backgrounds, that we were surrounded by, So that kind of made me free in my mind to relate with anybody, to be with, because I then began to see, even though it was unconscious, that people are not their ethnicity, people are not their race, people are not their color, people are just people. Underneath everything, we are all blood and bone. So yeah, that kind of freed me in terms of relating with people. And in terms of my mind, reading lots of books, watching cartoons, it just had something that it did to me growing up, made me more adventurous, made me more exposed even in my own little world. Life started for me as an individual when I became more aware of myself. It started for me when I left home and started living independently in university. I attended the University of Lagos, and where I studied architecture for about 6 years. But I was still to an extent mature. But one good thing that happened for me or to me was that I met God, I met Christ, in uni. And that kind of changed everything. All fresh, all naive, because I was naive, and then had to learn things the hard way. When I got into school, when I got into uni, I had no intention of being a fellowship girl or a church girl. Nah, that wasn't my intention. I wanted to do all the clubbing. I wanted to do all the things that I had not done because I had been caged by my mother, So I said that was what I was going to do. Then I had this friend whose sister had finished from the fellowship I actually ended up in, Alexis. And she said, do you know, if you want to have a first class, just join this fellowship. They produce a lot of first classes. Honestly, that's the truth. I did finish with first class. Not just that, I finished as the best graduating student. So moving on from there, I went for NYSC. In fact, how NYSC happened was that I was kind of indifferent, but unconsciously I didn't want to go to the north. But I was really indifferent. I went to Kano with no expectations, etc. But I got there and then I met family, I met friends, and God showed up and showed out. One day I went to the hospital, the local clinic in my area then, Woodale. And I went to the local clinic and I had to do some voluntary work there by the government. So locals came and a lot of them tested for malaria, a lot of them tested for typhoid, a lot of children were in the hospital for water polluted, related diseases. And I was like, what's going on here? I knew that water was a problem in my own house, in my own area, but I didn't know it was a general problem. So I started doing surveys, I started calling different chiefs, heads of different communities within that community. What's your biggest problem? Lots of them were saying the problem of water, etc. So I went to one of the poorest communities there. I spoke to his chief, and in a village that was about 3 villages in one, they only had 2 wells, and I'm like, really? So how do you guys survive on 2 wells. That's why you guys have diseases. It's not even a closed well, it's an open well that, different people from different, and the villages were so sparsely dispersed. And 3 large villages, you guys are coming to this well, open well, to take water.
Wow.
So I was like, you know what, I'll try to do, even if it is 1 borehole. I didn't know how expensive it was. Then speaking further, I started trying to source for funds. That was what I was just going to do a borehole for them and, at least start from there. Maybe later on I'll do more. And I now started speaking to people that were funding. They said try to speak to medical personnel as well. If you see, you can, give them mosquito nets. You can give them clothes. You can give them medicine. Because a lot of them were sick but could not afford to go to the clinic. So that was how the phase 2 of the project came about. I got the estimation of what I needed to spend on phase 1, which was about, I think, 500k. The reason why it was so expensive was because to dig into the ground, Kano is very dry. Before you could hit water, they had to go down deep inside. Like, where would I get this money from? Somehow, we sourced the funds. We asked people. Some will disgrace you, some will answer you, and we eventually got the funds, and to God's glory, I'm telling you, to God's glory, we did that. Then the phase 2 now came. Phase 2 was more complex because getting drugs, getting medicine is not something that you can easily get. You can't easily procure drugs or things like that, without being in that field. So that was a little harder. But somehow we got organizations, family. What was the name of this organization? Family and Children Society or something like that. Different hospitals, the main general hospital there, some of their personnel. So in total, it was such a huge success. We had about 70 volunteers.
Oh, wow!
I'm telling you, different organizations that came on the day to give medical aid. It even extended beyond what I had imagined. They gave glasses, they gave eye treatments, beyond what I just thought they were going to give them stuff that related to malaria and typhoid. But they went beyond that, and that wasn't on me, that was on the volunteers that came, the medical professionals and every other person. And something that started small, before you knew it, word of mouth. They are sharing mosquito nets, they are sharing this. People started trooping in from the villages, and it went well. And another thing we did that day was also educate them. So there was a projector where we're showing them that, if you get water from wherever, boil your water, use mosquito nets, just so that the project could be sustainable, over a period of time. Until today, I still have a relationship. How many years after? I finished my NYC 2015. This is 2021. I can still call up anybody in that environment, in that place, and they'll still hail me. Hey, Kofa, this, that. Moving on, or in Kano, it just made those things come back alive. It made it more reinforced that if you want to get something done, zero your mind and put your head down inside and then just keep working and get it done. Little steps, is what makes things huge at the end of the day. Don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to ask. There are a lot more good people in this world than social media and every other thing paints it to be. There are a lot more kind, amazing, everyday people, And about myself as well, I'm very dogged. I'm very resilient. You can find family, you can find friends in unexpected places. If you open your mind and if you let God direct you, He'll put your desolation, He'll put it in your family.
I could not agree with you more. That is such an interesting story. Thank you so much for sharing.